Hello and welcome to Hobby Paranormal, where we're going to take a look inside of the K2 EMF meter. This is usually a very standard piece of equipment that paranormal investigators use. It's sort of the gold standard. As you can see here on the back, that it says it's made in the USA, K2 Enterprises, Camillus, New York. I think that's how you pronounce that. Let's turn this on and experiment with this magnet. As you can see, I can pick up the flux. Does it matter which direction? No, it does not matter which direction, north or south, will set this meter off. Let's try it from the side. Very sensitive on the side, on either side. What about here down the bottom? A little bit, not too much. I mean, again, I'm only inches away from the thing. And over here, you can pick it up. Now, the other direction that things can move in is up and down. So let's try up and down, perpendicular. And you can see that when I'm moving it up and down in this direction, it's very insensitive to that magnetic field in that direction. We're going to open this up and take a peek inside of what makes the K2 meter work. The access to the meter is through these two screws. You have to take them off anytime that you have to change the battery. This appears to be a newer model, as the components inside are surface mount. We'll take a look at the pictures of the older ones. This picture is of an older version of the K2 EMF meter. Notice that all of the components are through-hole, which means the resistors, capacitors, transistors, switches, and so forth all have their leads that have to be put into holes and soldered onto the PC board. The newer version of this board are all surface mount except for the push-button switch and the LEDs. What we see inside the unit is a 9-volt battery with a connector. Let me turn that off, and I'll just pop it off of there, get the 9-volt battery out of the way. And the circuit board is only secured by the back of the case. There are no other screws holding the circuit board on, so you can easily just dump this board out and take a good look at it. This is the inside of the K2. Battery wires go in there, and this is the push-on, push-off switch for the power. There are several components on here that I recognize. These little black rectangles, those are transistors. The black squares with the silver on either side, those are resistors. We have a few surface-mounted capacitors over here. These large silver cans on the board, those are electrolytic capacitors. This component here is an integrated circuit. It's identified as an LM324, which is a quad op-amp package. The LEDs themselves are on this nice riser, so that way the LEDs stay aligned, so that when you're putting them back into the case, that they line up nice and neat. A lot easier to do it that way than to have them bending over. That's a good idea. On the back of the board, we can see a few of the components that are through holes, such as the push button switch, as these three are 3 and 3 those in a row. The LEDs themselves are through hole components that solder onto the board. But perhaps the most interesting part about the back of the board is this traces around there. You can see there's about 4 traces that go in a rectangle all the way around the board. And that's the EMF pickup coil itself. One thing that I found interesting on the circuit board were these capacitors labeled C3 and C4. As you can see, they're surface mounted, but they're also having holes on either side for some through-hole components. Got me to think that, well, maybe what they were doing that for is to allow them to have different capacitors there. But then it made me remember that capacitors are sometimes what's called microphonic because they are sensitive to vibration. So what I'm going to do with a wooden skewer, a chopstick, I'm going to just tap on these capacitors. Notice that if I tap anywhere else on the board, it doesn't do anything, but when I tap specifically on that capacitor or the other one, not so much the other one, but you can see it lighting up when I'm tapping on that one, and very strongly when I'm tapping on that one. So I think the reason why that they put these extra holes on the side was to allow for through-hole capacitors to be installed. But I think that it's not too much of a detail. Just know that if you're tapping on this board or your case, it may give you some hits, but those just might be the effects of having a microphonic capacitor on the PC board. While filming this video, I had one of the battery wires come off of the circuit board. So I'm going to repair it. This is where the negative battery wire needs to go. Okay, and then the last thing to do is to solder the wire onto the PC board like that. As a precaution, I also repaired the plus wire as well, the red wire. Now that I've repaired the wiring, I think I'm going to put a blob of hot glue over here and then over here in two places to secure the wiring so that it can't be pulled out easily. And I don't want to put a lot of it on there. And I don't want to melt the wires. This is a closer look at the way I did the glue. I routed the wires away from the components. I didn't want to put any hot glue on the components. This is simply on the circuit board. It's almost completely cooled off of there. Okay, I think the glue is set up. I'm going to put the battery on here just temporarily to check if the repair is correct. Seems good. I'm going to take the battery off of here and I'm going to put it back in the case. So the LEDs go face down and the little boss in the case, that's what they call them, goes over there. Make sure that the wires come out there through the little rabbit holes, whatever they call those. I think they call them rabbit holes. And now we're going to attach the 9-volt battery. I always leave the wires in an up position. These are the screws. And I'm going to put the back on. And the little ridge right there needs to go across the back in the center. It takes a little bit of work to get them lined up. I do the top where the LEDs are first. And then the back is going to be a little springy because of that foam. And that's a good thing. You want that to, before you close it, make sure that the wires are not protruding out in the case. You do not want to pinch those wires. And close them up. Okay, well that's the K2. Turn it on, make sure it's functioning. Great. Okay, well, this wraps up a peek inside the K2 EMF meter. If this is an interest of yours, please like and subscribe to the channel. It shows me that you like this content and want to see more of it. Thanks for watching.